Good afternoon and welcome back to Girded with Truth. Thank you so much for joining us today as we continue our series When Life Gets Difficult. Life is difficult for all of us. We face a difficult life. Sometimes we are in that season. But what we can't do is give up. Today, we're continuing to speak about Abram, and this was before God changed his name to Abraham. So, God was not talking to a fully developed Abraham, but God was talking to Abraham in seed form, in an underdeveloped form. But God was able to still trust Abraham with his word, with his commands, with his instructions. And sometimes when life gets difficult, God disguises our success in separation. So today, that is what we're going to speak about. Genesis chapter 13, verses 9 to 15 says, "Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left." And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. And the Lord said unto Abram, after that Lot was separated from him, "Lift up now thine eyes, and look from the place where thou art, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever." So today we're talking about success being disguised in separation. So we reach the place where Lot and Abram's servants were striving with each other, and Abraham came with his wisdom and said, "Let us not strive with each other, but let us be separated." And he looked at the plains and he said, "Wherever you choose to go, I will take the other side. If you have first preference." So we see Abram bringing this situation of peace. If your life is difficult, and if you are having a hard time hearing from God and you think God is silent on you, I would suggest that God cannot give an instruction unless there is peace. You need to be at peace in order to hear from God. And here Abraham is saying, okay, let us separate, because God had brought so much wealth into their house that it could not be contained. And not all the time when you have to separate from someone means that you hate each other. To separate means to sever from or to scatter abroad. It also means to part ways or to be out of joint. So yes, the aspect of separation is difficult. It is a hard thing to separate from someone, especially when you have lived with them your whole life. But separating from someone does not mean you hate them. Sometimes you love someone so much, but you just cannot live with them because their idea of homekeeping and work and structure and order might be different from what you see your life as. So you might just have two different destinies, two different purposes, but it does not mean that it has to end, or the relationship has to be severed or brought to a halt, or you be separated from them because of hatred. Sometimes you continue to speak with them, you continue to be there for them, but you cannot have them in your space daily. So that does not mean hatred. It just means that there was a time and a season for that relationship. It may have come to an end. It also means that sometimes you are headed in a different direction at a different rate of speed from someone else. And in order to get into your destiny, you have to separate from them. Now, God is the one who gives the instruction of separation. We don't take it upon ourselves to just say, okay, I'm fed up of this and I separate. No, God does things for his honor and his glory. He does things in peace. So here we see Abram and Lot, even though there was strife with each other's servants and stuff, Abram and Lot decided to separate peacefully. And in a later account, we saw Abram going to the rescue of Lot to help save him. So there was no animosity between Abram and Lot after this day. They still loved each other, but God was calling them to separate from each other. And Lot chose where he would go, and he went and pitched his tent and moved on with his life. And Abram remained. Why did Abram remain? Because Abram needed to hear from God. And it said that God spoke to Abram when he was separated from Lot. So there was strife in Abram's camp, and God could not speak to him because there was no peace. But as soon as peace came back and there was alignment and order once again, God spoke. And God didn't just speak, but he gave Abraham a promise. So Abraham was moving towards the promise that God had for him. He was moving towards success, not just in his purpose, but in his life. But in order to get that, he needed to separate. Separation is not always bad, wicked, or evil. Sometimes separation is for your own good. Hannah would have weaned Samuel and then separated from him and gave him to the temple. Was that bad? No, because Israel needed a prophet. Sometimes separation is what propels you into your purpose. And we have to reach the place where we love God and we want to pursue him so much that we not just don't mind separating, but we would love to separate because it brings honor and glory to God. Sometimes we are attached to things that are holding us back, not because the people or the things might be holding us back so much, but it's a place of comfort for us. So God is saying today, leave behind the comfort, leave behind the ideologies, leave behind the people and the choices that you would normally make and focus on me. God is saying today, separate yourself so that I can speak to you. God has instructions for each and every one of us to bring us into our purpose and to carry us into our destiny. But first, we must separate. Our peace is in our separation. So today, you might be having a difficult life. You might be facing some difficult things, but I suggest to you that your success is disguised in your separation. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.